Are you tired of all the dating games, rules, and societal norms that make falling in love confusing and stressful?
Then join us as we ditch the script and empower you to establish healthy, conscious relationships.
This weekly podcast breaks down popular dating reality television and educates you on healthy versus toxic dating habits.
I'm Brianna, a licensed therapist.
And I'm Alex, a trauma-informed and certified narcissist recovery coach.
Are you ready to ditch the script?
Oh my God.
I love it.
Thank you for coming to my concert.
Oh my God, that was beautiful. I couldn't even hear what you were singing. I imagine it was Taylor Swift, yes?
Yeah. It was Cardigan. It was the song I was playing.
And I saw were you belting out loud in your own
Yeah.
space? Oh my God, incredible. And so I just went the lighter route, which felt right. It just felt right.
It was a vibe. It was a vibe.
It's a vibe. That was actually really cool. Oh wait. We didn't even reflect on okay. First of all, let me present this in a way that's going to be useful. We have a very special guest on an episode that's going to be coming out.
Yes, we do.
And I'm not going to name names because Alex and I haven't really discussed the what's coming first, this episode or the other one. But let's just tease and just say it's a special guest. And if that episode's already been released, then you know who I'm talking about and you're in the know and good for you. And if you don't know who I'm talking about because you're only listening to this one, go listen to the other one. So we have a special guest and we also invited them to engage in like a silent dance in that first 30 seconds.
Yeah.
While we're like muted. And that was just so funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Because this person chose to do stretches, which is fine. You know, like, I get it. They're like, what did I get myself into? These two crazy bitches are like over here, like, you know, doing their classic dance moves from How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Yeah, exactly.
Truly.
Like, literally. And so, you know, being in the industry that this person's in, they were like, you know, I'm going to stretch my body, you know, and put it in shapes that I don't usually, meaning like if I'm sitting, we're doing the opposite movement. Yeah. You know, to each their own.
I loved that for them. I loved that for them. I thought that
Same.
made a lot of sense. I don't know if I would have ever gotten on, you know, a video call with random people and in which they gave me permission to dance and move my body however I would have. I don't know if I would
feel that comfortable.
Yeah, am I about to like shake out a wiggle? We were just like, listen, dance, don't dance, ignore us, whatever. Like this is what we'll be doing. Yeah, sing. We didn't choose singing in that route.
No.
That we went our classic like what makes sense to you and me, and we were like, we're dancing.
Yeah. Today I chose singing because I played my guitar.
Been singing.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of, if I'm being honest, it's still playing in my head even right now as I'm talking. It's like I hear it. And so, you know, I just had to let that out while we were.
Alex says that she's in her own Eras tour.
Yeah, bitch, I am.
Yeah. You're having your own era.
Yeah.
Which is beautiful.
Ain't that the truth?
Ain't that the fucking truth? Well, while you're in your era, I'm in my COVID era.
Yeah, you are, bitch. Are you okay?
No. No.
I am so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. Listen.
It's not okay.
No, it's not okay. But this is the consequence of being out here in these streets and living my life. You know, a bitch was bound to get COVID. COVID has been coming up again in kind of a serious way, and it got me.
Got you. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I can only hear out of one of my ears, and probably that ear is about 30%. We're doing great.
Yeah. All right.
And you know what's really frustrating about this?
Tell me.
First of all, I feel very lucky. I was reflecting on this today. To my knowledge, I haven't had COVID up until now. This is my first time.
Oh, this is your first time? Well, congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
That's amazing.
I know. To my knowledge, this is my first time. If I have had COVID before then, I was unaware because maybe I was asymptomatic or it was a cold and flu that like tests did not detect, whatever, I'm not sure. But what I am grateful for is having this knowledge and being in this environment. I feel really, really, really grateful because I'm in my own space. I don't have any roommates that I need to be worried about like infecting.
Oh,
I don't even have a partner that I'm like worried
making
about
out with.
infecting. Yeah, or like them trying to figure out how to be not sick for however long that would last. Um like I can do I don't need to leave this house. Like I'm okay.
Yeah.
And my parents are 15 minutes away. Like I'm right now,
Lynn will
obviously I'm
drop some
taking,
soup at your door. You're fine.
yeah, like for the most part, I'm taking care of myself, but if I needed support, they're there. So this is
Amazed.
quite literally the best case scenario for me. The only thing
Yeah.
that sucks is that Tucker
Oh no.
doesn't totally get it.
No.
Like,
Oh, preach. I know
yeah,
exactly what you're let's talk about this because it is truly a challenge.
it's a
Continue.
challenge being sick
It's
when
a
you have a dog that's like,
yes.
he's
Feed me,
like,
play with me, walk me. What's wrong with you? It's like,
yeah. And I'm
bitch, do you
like,
not see this?
yeah, take cues. This morning, Tucker like woke up at like 6:30, and which
No.
is not abnormal. Like that's usually when
Yeah.
he
But
gets his
today is
life.
not the vibe. Yeah.
Today it's not a vibe. Today was like the one day where I could have slept in. And so sometimes if I have time to sleep in, which is very rare, I'll let him out. I'll feed him and then he will be satiated enough to be able to actually go back to sleep if I'm going back to sleep. We tried that today. And then he was like and starts barking at me and like nipping at me to be like, I don't know if Jax ever does this, but he does like a little like
Oh
the back
yeah.
of it,
No.
like the front of his teeth. Anyway,
No,
it's
Jax
not,
just
it's,
comes and puts his ass in your face and he's like, wake the fuck up.
I would prefer that. This is part of Tucker's like bad boy behavior, but I'm trying to tell him like, mommy's sick, like
Yeah.
please, like
Yep.
mommy's not feeling well, like
Yep.
mommy's really sick, like please leave mommy alone. And he's like, we have to be out. And I get it, he's got to
Yep.
take a shit, he's got to run his little legs out, but I am so unwell and so unwell in the morning.
It's the worst.
It's the worst, but
The morning
we
and the
did it.
nights are the fucking worst. Well, first of all, I'm
Yeah,
proud of you. But yeah,
thank you.
yo. Also, like, so July of last year was when I had COVID and
Yes.
we recorded. And so now I feel like it's a fucking anniversary, like
Oh my God,
almost.
crazy.
But
That's so true.
I could not imagine going through that with this guy because I didn't
Right,
have Jax yet. I had
right.
COVID the month before I got Jax, which we're actually about to celebrate our 1 year anniversary. Suck
Wow,
yo.
that happened so fast.
Right? I think it's the
Yeah.
28th to be exact.
Of August.
But yeah. And then his birthday's coming up. Anyway,
Oh,
so I could not imagine going through COVID and taking care of this guy. Like, couldn't. So, yo, like, kudos to you. I don't know how you're doing it. That's probably what I would have done. I would have been like, Lynn, Chris, come get this dog
I
and
know.
bye. Yeah.
I thought
Like,
about it.
yeah.
I thought about
It's a
it.
lot. It's like, because they
Yeah.
don't get it. They're like,
Yeah.
I'm over here. I can hardly keep my head up. I would get, I don't know about you, and I hope this isn't your experience, but I just remember being so lightheaded anytime I was vertical that I had to be laying down. Like I needed to be in a horizontal position for basically like a month.
Yeah.
And I would not have been able to be a dog mom,
Yeah. I
especially
actually
single.
f- I actually feel better once I'm standing and
Okay,
I'm moving around.
good.
Yeah. I think the reason why I haven't, like, I thought about that this morning because he was being really annoying. And I was like, dude, you don't get it. And that's
No.
not your fault. And also, I wish you would. But the reason why I'm like, I don't want them to take him yet, or I haven't pulled that trigger, is because if I just meet his needs, his exercise needs in the morning, he is such a lump and a loaf for the rest of the day and actually
Perfect.
truly needs very little and period. for the rest of the day that I'm like, I'm glad that I have someone here,
Oh,
because
yeah. Company
it's
to
gonna
a
be
degree.
it's gonna be a long 10 days. It's gonna be a long 10 days.
And
I already
ideally,
talk to myself a lot. We're about to be
you're like, we don't
talking
need to
to
make
the
it
paint.
worse. Yeah.
Yeah, we're about to be talking to the paint. So I kind of
Hello,
need a
wall.
living
How are
being.
you? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna start, like, I've never named my plants, but I might start naming them.
I have named plants. I haven't named
Yeah,
these plants, but I have done that in the past. Yeah,
yeah.
I can't remember, I didn't have COVID, but there was one time where I was sick while I did have Jax, and I was literally trying to be like, remember that time that you got neutered and you had a cone on your head? You probably wouldn't have wanted me jumping all over you trying to force you to cuddle me. So, like, reciprocate, bro. And he
Right.
just was like, no. He was like, I
Yeah.
don't
Here's
speak
my butt
human.
in your
Yeah,
face. Yeah.
scratch
How
it
about a little bit of
now.
self awareness? How about, you know what, dog? Read the room.
Read the room. Yeah.
Read the room.
Well, right now he's passed out being little angel man back there.
Yeah, same with Tucker. Tucker's knocked out. Or he's
We'll,
just like,
we'll
he's
see how
figured out
long
when I'm talking to my computer, he like
fucks off.
puts himself away. Yeah. Which
Yeah.
is
Right.
very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks
Awesome.
for letting me talk about my illness for a long time.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hmm.
It's important. And we're really sending you lots of love and healing and breathing
Thank you.
and cleared nostril vibes.
Ugh. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much going on in my biology. It's
Yeah.
fucked.
Oh, man. Okay, so are you ready to talk about Love is Blind Japan?
I am. I want to go to Japan so bad.
Me too, let's go together. Now that I have my
Yeah.
passport, bitches.
She's got her passport. She's
First time in my
international.
life. I'm about to be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is a
let's
big
go.
deal.
It really is. It really is a big deal. When I got this in the mail the other day, first of all, this photo up in here, blackmail. Straight blackmail.
I was gonna ask you, how do you like your
No,
picture?
it's awful. And I
No.
knew it was awful because so I had a feeling you couldn't wear white, but I didn't listen to that feeling, and so I showed up to the post office and with a white t-shirt. And so the mail person doing my paperwork was like, "Well, you can't wear white. So here's this old lost and found USPS navy blue vest thing that I need you to
Oh
put on."
no.
Yes.
Oh
And
no.
then the room was so small, she couldn't stand in front of me to take a photo. So she was like this, like off to the side, like holding the camera around. So it was like,
Oh no.
suffice it to say, your
Alex.
girl looks like she has chipmunk cheeks. Like I literally look like I put 50 peanuts in my mouth and I'm just like,
Storing for the winter.
yo.
Oh
Anyway, but that's not
no.
what matters. The only thing that matters is that for the longest time, I've been telling myself I'm going to get a passport and go out of the country for the first time. And I am a step closer to all of that
Mm.
now. And it feels like such a long time coming. And I'm just super fucking thankful.
The doors
So
are open. There are no more
they
barriers to
are
entry.
no
The
more.
only thing standing in your way is like, it's where and when and how much.
Yes.
And how much.
So stay tuned for those announcements because y'all will hear it here first because I'm so stoked. I have to celebrate this with you. So it's
I
happening.
know. Yeah, that's
Okay, but
exciting.
anyway, we will use this passport someday to go to Japan
And until then, we're going to Japan through our television screen.
virtually.
Yeah.
Which just isn't
Okay,
the same.
we're still covering Love is Blind Japan. This is episode 7 and 8. This is like the couples have officially moved into their like shared
Apartments.
housing. Yeah. So they're in their apartment. So we are post like getaway, and we are entering as close to real life as they've been able to experience since the pods.
Yeah.
So basically shit gets real.
For cereal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
All right.
think let's just tackle each couple's journey
Great.
one
Through
couple at a
both
time.
episodes.
Yeah.
Heard. I'm on the train with you. Ready.
Yeah, let's smooth it out.
Okay. Who do you want to start with? Pick your victims.
Can we
Choose
talk
your
about
character.
Can we talk about Karo and Misaki?
Yeah, let's, because in the second episode I wanted to come through the TV a little bit, and I'll talk
Yeah.
about why.
Yeah.
I'm so
Yeah.
interested to hear if we were thinking the same things.
I agree.
Yeah.
I had a lot of feelings. That's why I'm like, I want to talk about them.
Okay,
I
let's go.
think
I'm ready.
I want to acknowledge that like Misaki is acknowledged as and talked a lot about as this like
Airhead, which I do not
yeah.
like
Yeah, I
that
don't
term.
like how he's being talked about, but I do get that he's kind of he's kind of known as this like oddball where everyone
Yeah,
kind of describes him as like, and by everyone I mean Karo and like
the other
Misaki's friend and
of
also
his blind
Karo's
people.
friends. Yeah, like
Yeah.
we see less of all of them together in these two episodes, and more just like in their own individual experiences with their people. But he's sort of, it's like the way the phrase that comes up a lot is like, I've never met anyone like him. And his friends were like, yo, you never will meet anyone like him. It's kind of this condescending ish, a little passive aggressive way of being like, he's a weird one,
Yeah.
take it or leave it.
Yeah. It gets a little contemptuous too.
Yeah.
And it's like, first of all, I personally think Misaki, I don't think we're seeing a lot of him. I think we're hearing a lot more about him. Oh,
My mom
hold,
is here.
dropping soup.
Yeah, I'm gonna just take a quick break.
Yeah, you do it.
Sorry.
No, you're Gucci.
Okay.
So,
Yes, what were you
Misaki.
saying? Misaki.
Yeah, it's like, I think he's probably, I feel like if I was there and I met the guy, I'd probably get along with him, because I just have this feeling that he's playful in the ways that I'm playful in, like very
Yeah.
similar. Um, and what here's the deal. When we're entering partnerships, we need to accept our partner for all of who they are, including the areas that you might not be super stoked about, which means if someone is playful and you're more serious, you need to accept the fact that they have a playful part, not try and take their playful part and make it a serious part.
Right.
And I feel like that is really what is grinding my gears with this couple at this point, because initially it came up a little, but now I feel like it's all Karu is focusing on. And because of that hyperfixation, they're just seeing a problem after problem. And it's like, look, you're reading into this. In my opinion, she's assigning too much weight to some of the things that are coming up for her.
Yeah.
Because instead of, it's like, I feel like so many people get into partnerships where it's like, because I'm this way and I need a partner to be this way, it's like, I'm going to choose this person and then try and make them into the partner that I want for me, instead of just respecting that person for the individual they are. And I feel like Karu's kind of starting to get there, where she's like, you're not allowed to be playful like this. You're not allowed to be airheaded like this. You're not allowed to just not think about these things and not plan all these things. You need to be, she's so rigid. And it's like, what I really think, if I was going to do couples counseling with these two, is I actually think Misaki's a great fit for Karu to chill the fuck out and enjoy her life, personally.
Wow.
But I don't know if she's open to influence on me, like by Misaki. Okay, that's it.
I could not agree more. Agree more.
Thank you.
And I don't get me wrong, I love when we have a little healthy discourse and we do a little disagreeings. But you just described something that especially in my like sick state, I don't know if I was going to have the words to really describe. But in her looking for someone who is the type of person that she is, or to like engage in partnership in the way that she does, she is seeing she's nitpicking, or it's like showing up as nitpicking. She's seeing these tiny little differences and like you said, assigning too much weight to it. So for example, the best example that I can think of is like Misaki's hanging out with Kaoru's friends, and it comes up like, do you know my last name? What's my last name? And also this whole situation in which he was like really being put on the spot. It's not that Kaoru wasn't asking good questions, but she's asking good questions in mixed company that is really pretty unfair to your partner, because he's supposed to like
He's
be
like being
honest.
ganged up on.
Yeah, be honest, but he also is supposed to be making good impression with your friends. Like, you're quizzing this person with a very biased audience. Like, that's not
Mm-hmm.
cool. Like,
Mm-mm.
do not help your new partner out by allowing them to like support their support them being them in front of your friends so your friends can just get to know the
Yeah.
good stuff, especially in those earlier experiences. Jesus.
Yes. And by the way, it's so ironic because you and I were talking about this offline before we started recording in like our own
Uh-huh.
lives when we're meeting partners, friends, and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
how it can be overwhelming. And so it's like, think about this from Misaki's standpoint. Not only is he one meeting like, I think one, two, three, there were at least four of her
Three people.
friends. Three?
There were three people,
Okay.
yeah.
So three friends plus a reality show. And it's
Yeah.
like, yo, that is the amount of overwhelm and like almost like kind of the need to please is so intense that it's like you are really like not doing your partner or your relationship a service by putting them on the spot like this. And what really irked me was it wasn't even just the questions, it was the way they were asking them and kind of like passive aggressively being like, haha, that's so funny, but it's fucking not funny. Like it didn't,
Yeah.
it was like you're laughing, but the energy in the room was like, what the fuck? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
didn't like that. I didn't appreciate that. And like again, this was the part like I don't think Karu it's a malicious thing. I think she truly is wrapped up in her head because of her own fears, and if I'm being even more honest, I think it comes more from maybe a traditional background with family or the society, the culture, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't think Karu is like trying to maliciously come after Misaki for the sake of attacking Misaki. I think it's her own
Right.
fears, but those fears are stemming from what quote unquote a relationship should be and how
Right.
serious it is, you know?
Yeah.
So,
In order
yeah.
to, and I think that you brought this up first, and I think it's a really good point. In order for Caro to be, to really experience what it could be like to be with Misaki, she really needs to let him be himself and lean into it and just have
Yeah.
fun. And like, I get
Yeah.
it. You're working up. I think that there's just a lot of pressure because of the structure of the show. Like,
Mhm.
they are engaged. They're supposed to get married in 3 weeks. Um, and at this point where they're meeting each other's friends, I don't know how long it's actually been. So,
Yeah.
and how much time they have left. So I can appreciate that there being like uh, a lot of
Nerves.
pressure of like, wait, we need to make a decision and I need to know everything I need to know. But like, she really needs to just let him be himself. Like, he's a good dude. He's very mindful to
Yeah.
her. There when Misaki introduces Karo to his friend, um I thought that this was really interesting because Misaki just absolutely, this would annoy me as well. I do want to say this, but like,
Yeah.
he absolutely dropped the ball in like trying to like introduce Karo to his friend. We're explaining what was going on, and his friend was sort of like, so tell me, like, what's this all about? And Misaki's like, about what? And he's like,
We're engaged.
the
Yeah.
fact that you're engaged, the fact that I'm in this place that's not actually your home. Like, I don't know anything.
Yeah.
And I thought that that was just really funny. It's very clear that Misaki's not a very good communicator, or the kind of communicator that like Karo is looking for.
Yeah.
And it
I
seems
think
like his
what
friend
was
kind of echoes
really
that
I
as
think
well.
this yeah, I think what's really cool about Misaki is that I think it comes from a place of being so present. Like he's so
Mm,
in the moment that the thinking ahead and communicating ahead is definitely a skill he can adopt, right? But, you know, the guy he goes back and forth to Kenya. He has a really dope job. He clearly has a heart for humans with what we find out with how, you know,
mm.
he'll go to the slums of Kenya and like help the kids play and like all of
Yeah,
that. Like that's
yeah,
like and to me that's what's way more important than like the facts of like do you know my last name? Do you know my favorite color? It's like that shit's like okay, cool. Like that's pop quiz stuff. But
yeah,
a person's character is really at the end of the day what's going to make or break a relationship. And I think Misaki's dope. Again, does he have some relationship skills that he could develop, the communicating thing and kind of thinking ahead? Yes, absolutely. But I think, what Caro, and this, I see so many people get hung up on this. It's like Caro is looking for a partner who communicates the way she communicates, finds things funny the way she finds things funny. And when we get to, and again, I'm not saying that we should have complete opposites. Like, I don't think that's really possible. Like, for you to fall in love with someone who hates everything that you love. That's not what I'm saying here.
Hmm.
But when we talk about a partner who complements us, I think this is what Karu is missing out with Misaki, is like,
Mm.
Misaki's playful, Misaki's very youthful, Misaki has values that are like very nurturing and wholesome. And Karu is so like career focused and like traditional. I mean, look at the way she presented herself to Misaki when they met in real life. She was full
Right.
on kimono garb. So it's like
Hmm.
clearly there's an aspect, and again, that's beautiful. I'm not saying tradition or all of that is like bad. Please hear me. That's not the goal here. But it's like
Yeah.
we need to, if we're looking for relationships to help us grow, finding someone who is a replica of who you are is going to be so monotonous and boring and not cater to your growth.
Mm.
Whereas when we can find partners who complement us, it allows us to fully experience life in ways that before we were in that relationship weren't accessible to us. And I
Mm.
think that is what I want for Karu and Misaki. Like, I
Hmm.
want her to be able to play and let go and hang, like, chill, just chill, enjoy life, be
Yeah.
present, stop trying to figure out what tomorrow's going to look like all the time.
True. You're
So,
already in this situation, which is a very like random, out of the ordinary type of system. So
uh,
just engage in it, see what it's like with this person. I do. I think I would have a similarly hard time if this person didn't know my last name. And the reason for that is because it would feel like, am I, is this stuff not, am I not important enough for you to be able to like learn and remember this stuff? I think that she's feeling not special, not, maybe not seen. It's hard to say. It's like
and
what we didn't get with
that is
editing.
what
It's
I
like,
Yeah, and that's the way I wish she communicated it.
yeah.
Instead of, because it's like when we're more focused on the facts instead of the feelings, it seems weird. She's like, "Why don't you know my last name? Why don't you know these facts about me?" And it's like, instead of doing that, it's like, "Hey, I feel really valued and important in a relationship when you do know these details about me." And so
Right.
I would really love it if maybe for the next 10 minutes we sat down and just kind of went back and forth, like 20 question style, and like had a convo around these facts. That would really make me feel loved. And maybe they could even turn it into a game if she's like, I'll give you a pop quiz later, and for everyone that you get wrong, that's a night this week you have to cook dinner. I don't know. Like, you can
That's an
make it fun.
idea.
Right. And speaking of cooking dinner, I love that Misaki was cooking dinner for her, because we see a lot of traditional roles come out in some of the other couples where like the woman is very much the nurturing, like, I'm making dinner, I'm getting you coffee, like blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But Misaki starts cooking dinner one night and is like, wow, housewives have to do a lot of work. And I was like, yes, Misaki, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
love that shift in perspective.
Exactly. So
Tucky, come
I
here.
really think this guy is a good dude. So whether he ends up with her or not, and same with Karu. Like, I don't think Karu's like not a great woman. I do. I just think she's a little stuck in her ways, and like she could learn from like gaining new perspective and opening herself up more. So
I
I hope they
agree.
figure it out, because I really do think there's potential for them. But regardless, I wish them well. We'll just have to see.
I don't know if I see it happening. They might just not be compatible. They really might not
Right.
be.
And
They
that's
like
that.
that would be fine. Actually, I'm trying to wonder if there would be a different girl that we've seen in the show that would be a good fit for Misaki. I have an
Oh,
idea.
tell
Yeah.
me. I saw
Um
your light bulb.
yeah, I didn't want to go here because I like this relationship. I love Rotaro and what's her name?
Matomi.
Matomi? Yeah. I love Rotaro and Matomi. Um But I do think that Matomi would be a good fit with Misaki. I like the couple that she's in already, and I
Same. I
think
could
that
see that.
couple actually works really well. But she's just like a little. She can be like a little silly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I would have to go back through because I also wonder if some of the girls who either like have left the show, like Nana comes up,
Mm,
or if there's other girls like Ari who didn't even make it into a couple. I feel like
right.
there might be another option that we've seen on the show who may have been a better fit for what Misaki is aiming for. We'll
Yeah.
see.
Totally. Okay. Coolio. There's a couple that brings up similar frustrations for me, just as far as like the pattern
Ooh,
of communication.
let's
Uh,
go.
and it is Priya and Mizuki.
Oh yes, let's go there.
Yeah. So
Ooh,
I wish that we had more of a deep dive into what we last saw from Priya and Mizuki, which was the like
wine bottle
Mizuki
thing.
posturing in the restaurant, like, give me the most expensive bottle of wine. And Priya being like, ooh, I actually really don't like that. That's for a different type of girl. It's not for me. And I was like, yes, same. Totally
Yeah.
understand. I don't know if they ever talked about that, but if they did, we didn't see it. And if they didn't, I'm like, that sucks. I think Priya does something that I really liked, but it unfortunately was the only thing that I felt was
Okay,
working
tell
in her
me.
favor. She's having a conversation with Mizuki, and she says, she was like, um, I wrote it down. You said you didn't need to make a profit from your restaurant. And when you said that, how you expressed it made me really curious later on. And I was like, that is such a great
Great.
way to
Yeah.
like let someone know, hey, this is something that stuck out without being
What the
uh
fuck do you mean by that?
yeah, exactly, like supercharged, like you're approaching it with curiosity because you and the reason for this is even if it made her like sound off the alarms being like, wait, what the fuck does that mean? Um which is appropriate, like
I think that's internally but she didn't let that
she didn't
affect
say
her
that.
communication. Yeah.
And I just
And
want to
that's a
say
huge
like
skill.
right. And like the reason why I'm pointing this out and the reason why I'm saying like we can learn from that type of approach is because of the impact that it has on our partner. If we approach someone and we were like, hey, you said that like you didn't need to make a profit, that really scared me. What the fuck does that mean? Can you explain that better? That's going to put that person in this like quasi defensive mixed with like I need to like explain the situation so that you don't feel nervous and upset. And instead she's like, hey, I'm really curious about this. Like, can you explain more to me? Like,
Mhm.
that was really interesting. And then he could be like, oh, well, I mean, blah, 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 blah about making a profit from the restaurant. He's
Yeah.
basically saying, like, if it doesn't go well, I can sell it and I can make a profit there. Tra la la
Yeah.
la
Yeah.
la.
And then it's kind of all downhill from there because it does get a little
Very.
interrogation-y
Yeah.
after.
Yeah. It was just like challenging. Like, and specifically what we're talking about is Priya is challenging Mizuki and Mizuki, she's just like what kind of partner are you looking for, and then what does that mean for me, but what happens if that changes for me? Mizuki did a good job of reflecting, but unfortunately not in front of Priya. They need to do this with each other, but he reflected, he was like, she was asking the same question from different angles, and I just thought, if I just answer the question good, if I get through the questions, like I'll be okay. Clearly he's not feeling uncomfortable, he's feeling quizzed, and it's like, I don't know, none of this was conducive to like actually learning from each other.
No. Yeah. I think she also, when we first, she talks about like, you watch me too much. Like when we first see them in this scene, she's like, you're always like, you're watching me take my makeup off. You're watching me cook. You're watching me do this. You're watching me do that. And it's like, okay, instead of all the you statements, talk about how it's making you feel. It's clearly making you feel anxious or on edge
Yeah.
or something. And so it's like, that is going to one keep the emotional safety because instead of like saying you're doing this, you're doing that, and very much the energy with which you're saying those things is like an energy of disapproval. It's like that's just going to make Mizuki think that like you don't like him, like something's wrong with him, and that's not true. It's just you are feeling uncomfortable. So it's like own that, Priya, instead of like just calling him out on these things. And then that energy carries over into this like interrogation thing where she's very focused on trying to get him to open up about like, well, what's your 5-year plan? What are your revenue goals? What's this? What's that? How do you see going to Australia? Why Australia? There's other places to live. How would a family fit in there? Well, if you go to Australia, wouldn't that have to be a housewife? And I told you I don't want to be a housewife. And it was like, pump the
Whoa.
brakes. But that's how
Well,
it felt
girl.
for me, right?
It's how it felt for me too, and it obviously felt that way for him as well. Sorry,
Yeah. And
I have to
so
cough.
you cough. So it's just like we need to understand when we have concerns about a relationship that it doesn't behoove the relationship or our partners to allow the energy and emotions that are stemming from the concerns to bleed into the communication, which is why I'm like, take a break. And I'm a proponent, I don't know about you, but when I was working with couples, I'm a proponent of a premature break. It's like,
Yeah.
even if you're not like escalated to the point to where like you're raising your voices or things are being thrown across the room, like we don't need to wait for it to get that unhealthy to then take the time out. It's like the second you feel your chest, like for me, and everyone's different. So you have to sit with your own body and figure it out. But I'll just share my experience. For me, when I feel my chest start to get flighty and like I
Mm.
say bats instead of butterflies, like that feeling of like shakiness, my throat starts to clench, I start to swallow really hard, my hands
Mm.
usually start to clam up. It's like when my body is saying these things, even if the conversation is still like I'm talking right now, but maybe the topic is bringing up this sensation, that's a cue for me to be like, hey, this isn't the time to talk about this, or like, I need a moment, give me some space. Because when we start to get into that dysregulated state, our logical mind goes offline. Even the area of our brain in charge of speech can go offline, which means we're not able to fully communicate or articulate what we're trying to express. And it's not going to behoove us. And so it's like what I wish these two did was to, one, recognize that within themselves, take the break, and just focus on one fucking question. Hey, I'm concerned about the revenue. Or, hey, I'm concerned about the timeline and what that vision looks like for you and your ideal relationship,
Hey,
And
I'm
like,
concerned about what you expect from me.
exactly. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be everything all at once. It can't be everything all at once. It's way too overwhelming. So, when we're talking about communication skills, that is a huge component for this couple. And I don't really feel like they're going to get off the ground much, if I'm being honest.
I don't think that she's allowing it to. And
Yeah.
and and maybe there's good reason. Like I think that she's seriously okay, this is how it feels. I don't know if this is what's happening, but it feels like she's noticing that there's significant incompatibilities between the two of them. And she's quizzing him and challenging him as a means
Hmm.
to see that it all rises to the surface so that she can be like, that's not working. This is why it's not good enough. Like, just like trying to justify it when, which feels very protective and very like, I need to take care of myself and make sure I don't put myself in a bad
Yeah.
situation. Um, but I wish that they would just talk about it like adults and meet on the same side of these conversations instead of feeling
Yeah.
like, because I think he's just trying to impress her and has been
Yeah.
doing so, which is why he was like, give me the most expensive bottle. And also like, yeah, your motivation is what motivates me. And he likes her and he's trying
Yeah.
to answer the questions properly, or what he thinks would be the proper way to answer the questions. But she's also not approaching this from a place of, I'm actually really concerned. Let's talk about why I'm concerned.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then here's what gets a little weird for me is we go to in the next episode we see her hang out with her girlfriends.
Yeah.
And walking, like going into this, I was like, oh, this is going to be a gossip sesh. Like, I really thought she was going to sit down with them and be like, here are all the things wrong with this guy I'm engaged to. But it doesn't start off that way, actually. I was pleasantly surprised to see her share a photo with them and talk about how handsome he was. And like, she's all about it in that way. She does bring up the concern around the market thing. And now here's where I feel like Priya, in the previous conversation we were just having with this like interrogation questions, she's an entrepreneur, he's an entrepreneur. She, being the entrepreneur she is, has her way of doing things, which starts with market research. Totally get that, understand it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he hasn't necessarily, he's not an entrepreneur in that way that is studying the market first. To each their own, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
Here's what I love, and I think all of us need a friend like this. Bree, you're my friend that would ask a question as brilliant as this. But her friend goes, so did you come at it like a team? Like, were you like, is that what you want to do?
Mm,
Where it's like, well, let's look up the
yeah.
market together and see how it's growing and see what's going on. Or are you more like, you need to do that, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Um, because, you know, they could, what I like about them is that because they're both entrepreneurs, they could build an empire together. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's, you know, I feel that because Mizuki isn't doing his business building things the way that she feels you should do the business building things, there's a little bit of contempt that's coming up for Priya. And so I just thought I wanted to point that out because I really think that having a friend that kind of plays devil's advocate in a way where it's like, instead of me just being like, oh wow, he doesn't do market research first and I'm going to bandwagon in on like, you know, confirmation bias, yeah, this is a red flag, this is something you should be concerned about. It's like, I'm going to ask because it's also possible for you to support him through that and do it with him if you want to do that.
Also, the question that sat with me throughout this whole thing was, does he want your input? Like, has he, like, do we even know that he wants your curiosity or questions about market research for woodier mushrooms? Like, what do we know about his level of uh, interest in having you be a part of that? Um, I, and I'm sort of curious, just between you and I, like, do you think that she's worried about tying herself to someone whose business could fail? Like, do you think that she sees him as like, a
Yeah.
recipe for business entrepreneurial failure?
Yeah, I think, well, I think because he shared how his first business went bankrupt and she might be a little like, ooh, okay, like that's scary.
Yeah.
Paired with some of the other things. And yeah, I think it's less about like, wow, Mizuki's a failure if this doesn't work out, and more just like, I think she's concerned about how that's going to impact her business.
Yeah.
If
Mm.
she, especially if they were to get married and God forbid this business of his went bankrupt, she might be feeling like, well, how's that gonna impact me? Am I gonna be the one paying off his business failure? That, and again, understandable concerns. I'm not saying she's not allowed to be concerned. It's how you communicate those concerns that matter.
Hmm.
Because you can either tear somebody down and kind of bully them, or you can lift them up and then make a conscious decision if you actually want to marry this guy or not, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
so yeah, that's that.
Hmm. Hmm. Interesting stuff. I'm curious to see what happens with them. Their storyline throughout the show has not been very
Great.
clarifying for me. Yeah, I just like, I can't really tell what there's, you know what? There's not a lot of conflict exploration and resolution in any of these stories except for the couples that we see break up.
I know.
It's like they give us
I
everything
know.
like at the end.
Yeah, like in flashback hindsight, we're, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
which
interesting.
like
Like a style of
maybe,
show.
yeah, like if we were just passively like watching the show for entertainment, maybe that would be lovely because I do like how they shoot it. But as two people who are trying to like deduce what's going on, it's a little frustrating.
Yeah. Um, there was something, the other thing that I'm not super here. I don't think they're gonna work out. I think they're gonna either break up or at the altar, Priya's gonna say no to him.
Yeah.
Because there's no emotional connection. Like, I haven't seen
Mm,
them be tender towards one another, like, at all. I've
Mhm.
only seen Priya be the badass entrepreneur she is and show up in her relationship that way, which is
Mm.
like, it's just not emotionally safe. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
Like, that relationship is going to keep hitting a brick wall because there's not vulnerability. There's just this like factual business type, yeah, conversation happening. So I really don't like, I hate to say this, but I don't really have much hope for these two.
No, me neither.
Yeah.
At least from what we've been able to see, what's keeping them together? Nothing. Like, we
Yeah.
haven't gotten any information.
It's like, do you even like him?
Yeah.
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 Um, okay. Do you have any other notes on this couple, or who do you want to go to
Nah.
next?
Nah.
All
Let's
right.
can we talk about Shintaro and Ayano?
Totally.
You have a
Yeah.
lot of thoughts. I have
It's
thoughts.
hard. I will say this one was a little bit harder for me to articulate what I was feeling was troubling. So we'll get there
Mm.
and maybe you can help me find my words. Um
I need help. No, I think I have an understanding of what 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 what's going on with this couple that's not working in their favor.
yeah.
And it's
So
interesting because
we
Ayano actually expresses it when she's talking to Midori, which was good to hear.
Yeah. So, at the start of episode 7, Shintaro seems nervous, says that it's been a while since he's lived with a partner. She says she's been in love a lot, but not in a marriage, and expresses like worry for their pacing. But then he was like, "We'll figure that out together," which I thought like that was cute. Like I think it's great that like they kind of come to a place where it's like we're in this together. Like we're gonna find our own pacing. We'll find our own timeline. Like blah blah blah. But then we find out that when they first moved in together, Ayano didn't stay with him for the first 2 nights or 3 nights,
Yeah.
2 nights.
Yeah, 2 nights.
Um, and so he stayed in their apartment on their own, and she went back to her own place and stayed there for 2 nights, which already to me is a little bit of like a ooh.
Yeah.
And Shantaro shares with us that she said it was because she needed to take care of her dog. But it's like if you're building what is potentially going to become a marriage, don't you want to see this guy interact with your dog? Like, don't you want to see if he
I do.
contributes, how he feels, how he talks to the dog? Like, that's a huge aspect of a relationship. So
Yeah.
I'm like, something is amiss here. This is not the
Yeah.
truth is not coming out. So like,
Yeah.
as we start to see them progress, I think I have a little bit of an idea, but that's all I have notes wise for them on episode 7. Do you have anything from episode 7 you want to share
Well,
from
she
them?
mentions that her she's worried about the age gap.
Mm,
She's worried that and I think that this has been reinforced by her parents. So she told her parents about the engagement, and her parents are concerned about the significant difference in age between the two of them. Shintaro is much
okay.
older. Um, and I think it's that for her that's getting in her head, and it's contributing to her continuing to pull back even more. The thing with Ayano and Shintaro, and I didn't appreciate that Shintaro is also struggling with this because we were so clear that we were seeing it with Ayano, which is that they are both having a hard time showing up as themselves, and
Yeah.
instead they're engaging in this like long game of politeness, um, and surface level interactions. And I think Ayano's decision to leave and her decision to not sleep in the same bed, she's like, yeah, it's hard for me to sleep, which totally valid. I get that. But I think all of these little areas of I could be giving myself the opportunity to sort of lean in and see what this is like with this person is probably informed by how her parents feel about what's going on. She's probably really nervous. Um, and she's pulling back even harder. She is not allowing herself to be vulnerable or to try new things. She's just being polite, and she's being lovely, and And it's not working in her favor or Shintaro's.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just it feels like watching like two high schoolers like in their first relationship like navigate like a lot of firsts together. You know what I mean?
Mm,
And it's like but Shantaro's in his 50s and I think there's also a part of him that's like like I think he very clearly states like I'm ready to have heart to heart. Like I want to emotionally connect. I want to have the depth in our relationship. But he feels that he's initiating everything, which is now starting to cause some resentment for him. And he kind of, Ayano says like I feel like you're talking to me like you're my boss. What I will say I really appreciate about Shintaro is the second Ayano says that he apologizes. He's like, "You're right, I'm sorry." I was like, "Damn, that was sexy." Like, okay. Like a lot of the especially because of the way Ayano said it, like you're talking to me like you're my boss, like that could trigger someone to get super defensive. So I was really impressed with his ability to be like to not go there with her. Um and so anyway, it's just I get what you're saying. And if that like I wish Ayano would come to him with that instead of like hold this in her and only admit it in her confessional of like, well, my parents are concerned. It's like share this with your partner,
right.
like let him in on what's coming up for you because all he's just picking up on like the energy radar of her probably pulling away and that tape of her parents, the age difference, the concern and da da da. And so instead of her just opening up to him and owning that, he's all up in his head now because he can just feel that she is like one step further away each and every
Yeah.
day. And it's causing his anxious attachment to come online and to like glob onto her even more.
Yeah.
Um, it's a clusterfuck between these two,
I
honestly, and in the weirdest way too.
I think that that thing that you noted about how she's not coming to him being like, "This is how my parents feel, and I'm nervous about that." We're seeing a lot of that across almost all of the couples. They're
Yeah,
noticing things that they're really worried about and nervous about, and we're not seeing any expression of this is how I am scared, and this is why I am scared. But to your point, when Shintaro was like, "You're right, I'm so sorry," he also reinforced this. He was like, "Hey, like, I think that was the first time lately where he's like, there you are. Thank you for bringing your whole self here." When she's like, "Don't talk to me like, you know,
yeah,
you're my
you're
boss."
my boss.
He's like, I think for him that was actually relieving because he was like, finally, like, tell me how you feel about anything. Tell me how
Yeah,
you feel about anything because I really don't think that the two of them were getting anywhere with each other outside of that's
no,
so lovely. Isn't that so nice? This food is so yummy. Like, what a lovely scene. You know what I mean? Like,
it
I
feels like
think
I'm. Go ahead.
it feels
Sorry.
like entertaining someone you have no desire to facilitate any type of meaningful relationship with someone. Like, if I am tasked to like, I don't know, like give
Go
someone
to
a
a business
tour.
dinner and placate somebody. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
like, let me make
exactly.
it through this 2-hour meal so I can tell my boss that, like, yeah, the meeting with the
We
client
did
went
it.
like,
E-
yo, it feels
exactly.
so shitty like that, like so
Yeah.
business exchange.
Yeah, exactly. And so for him, and I'm glad that he did this, he was like, tell me straight. Like, I'm glad that you're telling me this. Continue to tell me, which I hope for Ayana was like a little bit of a just confirming belief moment that like she
Yeah.
can and therefore she should. I'm curious what happens with them afterwards, but right now it's just very like, I cannot see them being together unless she just people pleased her way into marriage.
Well, and that's like it came up for her in the pods where she talks about that, right? This is the one where like her family moved around a lot, so everyone else needed to come first because she like had to function on her own because of the moving. And it's
Yeah.
like that pattern is still showing up now, even though Shintaro is like, take up space. Like, he's like asking her, like, come to me, like, take up fucking space. Who are you? Like, what do you want? How do you really feel? Like, he's really hungry for that level of connection with her, and it feels so unsafe. And I think that paired probably because of the age difference being a concern for her parents, I'm assuming, totally assuming, and I'm happy to be completely wrong if this is off base, but it sounds like there might be some tradition, like some really intense traditional values that her parents are, maybe holding her to or whatever. And so it's like, if when that is so ingrained, and to go against the grain, especially in a area where culture is so heavily important,
Yeah.
it feels uncomfortable and it feels unsafe to do that, even if your partner
Hmm.
is sitting there being your biggest advocate for, come to me, let's do this, let's, connect. And I really, if I'm being super honest, I feel for Shintaro in the sense that I think he deserves a woman who is ready to be there for him. I'm not as concerned about him moving on when, in my opinion, it's inevitable that these two are going to split. But I feel like he'll be able to figure it out. Ayano, I'm a literally like, girl, like, I want you to get the support and the tools that you need to step away from this pattern of behavior, because I don't think she's happy. Like, I don't get that from her in the way that and she's cute as a fucking button and she
Yeah.
dresses well. And it's like, but I don't see a genuine radiance of like joy. And I
I don't
want
see a
that for her.
genuine anything from her. I feel that what we get is all mask.
Yeah.
I have no idea who she is.
It makes me sad
Period.
for her
Yeah.
because I don't think I don't think she's ever been allowed to be who she wants to be.
Mm,
And so, that is way, like, that's going to take some time to repair and heal and grow through. And I really
mm,
want that for her and the future relationship that she ends up in. I really do.
mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm.
so yeah, that's everything I have to say about these two.
Ditto. Um,
Mm.
let's talk about Wataru and Midori.
Midori.
They're an interesting couple to me because in some ways, they're the couple that I feel like access the most familiarity
Mm,
because the two of them are both quite Americanized in their
hmm.
experiences. Where we know that Midori went to college in the United States, and I think that Wataru has worked in the United States or for an American company. I'm not really sure. I might be confusing him with Priya's background, but um, they're really Americanized. So it's like they're like playful, touching, and like their lifestyles feel really familiar.
Yeah.
How and that it puts on this lens of like, oh, they're a great couple. They're going to be great together. They're figuring all of this out, but I think that there is a lot beneath the surface, and you'd have to really be listening carefully in the way that we are to notice that, like, oh, okay, like there's some stuff here that needs to be dealt with.
Yeah.
What we can see and what's being discussed so far is that like Wataru is like he's he's pretty content. I think
Yeah.
he's like, I snagged a catch, which
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. For
I
real.
snagged a catch. Like she is adorable. She's smart. Like she's affectionate. Like I'm happy. And Midori's experience is like I can tell that he's happy, and I think that he thinks that I'm just as happy. But whereas he feels so certain about his decision, I really need these 3 weeks, and I don't blame her. It's
Yeah.
only 3 weeks. She's like, I need these 3 weeks to figure out if we're going to be a good couple. I mean, she's saying it, but we're going to say it much more bluntly. She's not attracted to him, and it's fucking with her.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder. So there's definitely a part of me that agrees with you on the physical attraction. I'm curious to know how much is at play with that. I
Mm,
also think she struggles to receive the kind of love that Wataru is dishing
totally.
out. And I
Totally.
have fucking been there before, like in the past when I was so accustomed to like abusive toxic relationship cycles. When I finally had my first healthy relationship, I was like, this is weird. Like, you're
Yeah.
being nice to me, you want to treat me like what? Like, you
Yeah.
made a dinner reservation for me, like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
um and so it was just, I feel like there's a little bit of that. We hear her say it a few times where she's like, oh my God, he is like this love that he's dishing out. Like it feels like overwhelming. And so I'm trying to figure out like how much of it is physical attraction or how much is it the emotional side. And because maybe it's bleeding into the physical attraction side, you know?
Hmm.
Um, but it makes me sad because Midori is so worth being like, and then some. Like, she's adorable, like you said. She's put together, she's successful, she's grounded. I feel like she's a great communicator. I think she has a good balance of like teasing someone but then like accepting them and like seeing their value system for what it is.
Mm,
Because she talks about that when she goes to see Wataru's apartment. She playfully is like, this is such a rich guy stereotype apartment, and then like starts to say like, I understand, like you spend money on things that you value, I'm the same way, you know? So
right.
it's like I love that she can accept that about him instead of it being like, why do you spend money on a stereo system, like, you know,
Right. Right.
judgmental.
Yeah.
So I, of all of the couples, I'm with you, I am rooting for these two the most because I do think that there is a lot of potential here and I think they look adorable together.
I know.
But
I think they're a
I
great fit.
I know. I am curious to know what comes up for Midori, especially as we see them move forward. I was kind of surprised to hear her say, you know, she says that on episode 7, she's like, I'm not at a 10 with him romantically. And I'm like, okay, I get that. Like, that can take
Yeah.
time to build. But then when she has Ayano and Shintaro over for dinner, and then the girls go off and talk, and she's talking to Ayano about what's coming up for her, I was a little bit more surprised to hear her go in depth about it. Just saying, like, you know, we're like essentially like we're a good match, but like, are we good enough to get married? And like, am
Sure.
I really feeling it?
Yeah,
Um,
sure. I wish
that
we
was hard
had
for
like
me to hear.
I wish we had a one-on-one of Midori talking to someone who's already been a part of her life for a very long time that really knows her. I wish we had a one-on-one chat to see her be like, this is really what I'm worried about. And so for a friend to be able to be like, hey, like, you deserve this type of affection. You deserve
Yeah.
this type of love. Like this this person could be a really good match for you. Um,
Yeah.
However, I love that she recognized that she needs to spend some time with herself.
Yes. Oh my
I
God. Yes. Let's
I,
talk about this. This
I
is huge
didn't
in
I didn't
relationships.
love how it was communicated between the two of them. And maybe there was a larger conversation, but she was basically like, I'm going to go get dinner with my friend. And he's like, okay, so does that mean that I'm on my own for dinner? And she's like, you can do what you want. In America, saying someone do as you please is very like passive aggressive. So for me, I was listening and I was like, ugh. But I don't know if it was if it was like taken that way.
It
Um,
didn't seem like it, but I agreed with you. I was like, whoa, okay.
Whoa,
Yeah.
icy.
Yeah. Ice queen.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I think I think that I like that the parallel that she made with the pods. It's like they didn't get to see each other all the time, so her affection really got to build. Also, parentheses, I think Midori's experience of getting to know Wataru built up the idea of who Wataru is instead of actually
Mm,
getting to know who he is. And I think it's less just the physical stuff. And I think it's more of the idea of the person that you were falling in love with is not the very real person who you're connecting with. The
yo.
very real person you're connecting with is actually great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to just insert here. This is why I'm like, stop fucking messaging on apps for so damn long and just
Yeah.
meet them.
Yeah.
Because of this, when we're on apps, it's like, yeah, you get to see a photo, but like you're in a textual relationship where it's like you can only get to know so much. And a lot of people build up this idea of who this person is so that by the time they get on the date, they're like already planning their fucking wedding to this person. And like, no, you cannot. Yeah, Brie.
I do this. I do this.
So all of us have, but it's like
Yeah.
we, you know, as we heal and grow, we get away from it because the
Yeah.
reality is like it's not true. Like it is a
Yeah.
pod. Like you are in a pod. So I
Yeah.
just wanted to like say while we're on this topic, I'm gonna call it out and be like, all y'all who are, you know, with so much love, by the way, but I need to message them for 2 weeks before I meet them, you are doing yourself a disservice. Like,
Totally,
just meet
totally.
them, get it over with. You will be able to tell in 1 hour, let's go grab a coffee or drink, way faster if this person is worth your time, instead of investing 2 weeks of texting time only to be like, well, that was a bust.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
and all the while, I think her reaching for I need to spend time alone, I think is going to help sort of create enough space for her to be able to um allow her what allow her feelings for Wataru and her experience being with him post pods to sort of settle and sink in. That's my hope. Because
Yeah.
I hope that she can recognize that, like, he's a solid catch.
Well,
And the
that's
two
why
of
I'm
them are
like,
together really good.
this is why I think it's because she is having this duality. And that's why I'm like, this is something from her past. Like, I would love to have a session with her just to kind of dig some stuff up, because she says this. She's like, I'm confused about my feelings. I know our connection is special. I know that we get along, but it's hard for me to express my feelings. And so it's like, okay, let's get curious about that,
Yeah.
Like, what about it? Like, does it feel unsafe receiving it? What about that? Is it because he has money and is trying to treat you in this way? Is it because, it feels maybe more stable than other things you've been in? Is it because, like, maybe your love language is different than what he's loving on you with, and vice versa? Like, let's get curious,
Yeah.
because that's why I'm like, it just doesn't make sense that she can acknowledge on the one side with her logical mind, like, this is a great fit, but then emotionally she's like, but why don't I feel all the feelings?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, buckwheat. Um, Rotaro and Matomi. Have we
Yeah.
talked about them?
Rotaro and Matomi. I just think that they're adorable.
Me fucking too. I'm pleasantly surprised by them.
Yeah,
Like,
me too.
I was stoked when they first met and everything, but there's a part of, I actually don't know how old they are, but they feel very young and fresh to me. I'm
Young.
not
Yeah.
I don't know how young they actually are.
Yeah.
But as I've seen them start to cohabitate, and they do such a good job of, like, um uh meeting each other's needs, where, like, we see her making miso for him for the first time, and he comes in to do a taste test. She's like, ooh, it needs more miso, and then she playfully, like, kicks him out, and he's like, he wants to, like, sit near the kitchen to be able to, like, engage with her, but she's like, go away, and he's like, well,
Yeah.
there's no one over there though, and, like,
Yeah.
but they're like laughing about it. It's cute. It's not like this threatening, like, get
Yeah.
out of the kitchen, like,
Yeah.
um
Or like Priya and Mizuki, like, why are you watching me?
Yeah, and then what I love as well is we start to see them cook together.
I
And
know.
she's like, like, communicating very clear, like, I need the onions thinly sliced, and he's like, yes, chef. Like,
Yeah.
playing along like I'm an apprentice. I just think that there's so much about relationships, and, like, I'm talking to my old school self, because, like, I used to be so stuck in my own ways, where it's like,
Mm,
if I asked a partner to cut an onion and it wasn't right, I would have been, like, really upset about it. And it's
mm,
like, for what? Like, for
mm,
what? And so I love that these two are able to come together and, like, playfully support each other through this process, as they're still learning each other, still nurturing their relationship. And it's
mm-hmm,
not getting, like, icky. They're just like,
mm-hmm.
yeah, this is how I need the onion cut. You got it? Cool.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's really cute. It's really cute. I also love that he fixes her hair all the time.
Oh my God, I think that's adorable. I just want to highlight something, and something I forgot about Wataru and Midori is, like, uh when Rotaru and Matomi are cooking together, and when Wataru and Midori are exercising together, these are
Mm,
really, really, really good ways to, like, engage in a regular, schmegular, everyday activity that builds intimacy that's not sexual, but
yeah.
can lead to sexual. How many times have you been in the kitchen with someone making something, and then, like, hand starts a touching, things get messy,
Yeah.
in a
Maybe
good
not
way,
with the
in the best
onion,
way.
but yeah.
Maybe not with the onion, but, like, maybe a little sauce, a little
Chocolate,
saucy. Yeah.
whipped cream.
So, I just think that these things are really good to be able to do together. And I know, did you just get lost in a moment?
Maybe.
I think that these are good things to do together that can sort of like, if you only have 3 weeks to spend with someone to like figure out like, are we a match before we literally get married? Do life together, do life activities
Yes.
together.
Yes. Cook. Pay your bills. Like, what is that
Yeah.
like? Put a budget
Cut
together.
bangs.
Cut your
Yeah.
bangs. Yeah. I'm also laughing because also before we started recording today, Brie was teaching me how to trim my bangs. So it's like,
Uh-huh.
you're my Ritaro.
Yeah, I
Um,
am. Okay, there's one thing that's coming up between Matomi and Rotaro that's like, I think it's being teased as this could be concerning. Um,
mm,
we know that,
oh,
yeah, we know that Matomi, it comes from a more conservative background than Rotaro. Like, Rotaro is definitely part of more of an eclectic, artistic part of his culture because of what he does and the spaces that he occupies. Like, even meeting his friends, I was like, they're fucking dope. This is
rad.
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm like, I want to hang out with you guys in Japan. Like,
I
maybe that's who I
know.
message next for an interview. And I'll be like, really?
Mm.
Like, yes, I want to interview you, but also, like, can Brie and I come crash with you
Oh
guys?
my God, they seem really sick. Um, but I think Matomi, and I understand this, like I am careful to not just assume that this is just 100% judgment, because I don't
Okay.
think that that's what's happening. I think Matomi is just being honest with herself to say, I am nervous about Rotaro meeting my family, specifically my dad. He's a really traditional guy. And I
Yeah.
think that um, my partner's looks is going to be off putting. What I hope is established is some room for Rotaro to just be who he is, because he is just like what I get from him. He's so gentle and he's so
Yeah.
sweet and
And
he's
he really
really
likes
thoughtful.
her.
He really
Yeah.
likes her.
He prioritizes her. And it's like at the end of the day, isn't that what every parent wants for their kid? Like just someone who loves them, you know?
Some
Yeah,
parents,
exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. So, if I was Matomi, I would be like, "Yo, girl, like let your parents know ahead of time because I think what won't serve the connection is if they're just like, "Surprise, here's my bleach
yeah,
tip
yeah,
boyfriend." Like,
right,
you know,
right,
I really think that if she has that conversation with like, "Hey, we're going to come see you like the day before, like we're going to come see you guys. I do want you to know like he has blonde hair and some tattoos and like but he really cares about me and we have such a lovely thing going, so like keep an open
right.
mind." I would
Yeah,
personally want to have that combo to
yeah,
like set the expectation instead
yeah,
of it like blindsiding them with like this what seems because of culture and tradition like outlandish for them, you know?
yeah, totally. Manage your people's expectations, because it is
Yes.
true. A lot of people that love us want us to be with someone that we're happy, that makes us happy, and that we love. But they also are focusing on like, is this person going to protect my child or my friend? Are they going to take care of them, or is there going to be a mutual exchange of caring for? And depending on your culture and what lenses you have in place, there's different signs and signals that are like, oh no, this person is going to lead my child down a ruthless path.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of like, manage your people's expectations, and it'll probably serve you.
100.
Mhm.
All right, are we gonna go over to Mori and Minami?
Yeah, I think they're our last couple, right?
Yep.
And for good reason. They had to be.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Mori and Minami. She says she's in love with him and that she has many moments where this pops up into her head where she's like, I love him, I like him, I want to be with
Yeah.
him. Yay.
Yeah.
But she's not saying that.
No.
Meanwhile, Maury, he's
Not feeling the
having
same.
not feeling the same. He is having like a lot of concerns pop up where, he feels like they're gonna butt heads. And
Mhm.
he is kind of right.
Yeah.
Um and so what we see in episode 7 is he takes her to his apartment. She sees how many clothes he has. And one of the first things she says, I don't know if she said this to him directly, but she very much says it to us, where she's like, he needs to downsize his closet. And I'm like, oh no, this is where we're going to get into like, you need to be the partner that I'm going to make you into, instead of like, you can have all the clothes
Right.
you want, babe. If we need to get a
Right.
storage unit, we'll talk about it to make room for my shit.
Right.
But right,
Right.
it's
She's
like, you
particular.
need to, yeah, she's very particular. She also, the hair thing comes up a lot too,
Yeah.
where she's asked him to pick up his loose hairs. And it's actually kind of funny going back to Rotaro and oh my gosh, I'm forgetting her name. The other
Matomi.
M,
Matomi. There's so
yes,
many M
Matomi.
names. There's many, many,
Matomi,
many M
Minami.
names.
I'm like, okay. So
Mori. Yeah.
Rotaro and
And
Matomi,
Matomi.
she was like, I don't know, like, do you want me to pick up my hairs? And he was like, only an uptight person would say that. And then like flash forward over into Mori and Minami, and she's asking him to pick
Wow.
up his hairs. I thought that
I
was
didn't
kind of
catch
funny.
that. I didn't
I
catch
thought it was
that.
funny. But yeah, Maury's just really concerned about how she be, and
Yeah.
the pressure that he's feeling because she's so particular.
Mm-hmm.
And I totally get it. I totally get it. This is one of those situations where if you're going to be a stickler for things like that, you have to choose someone who's also just as much of a stickler for things like that. You know?
Totally. And
Yeah.
there's like Maury doesn't share and reveal, and I get this. I think he was trying to protect himself, but I
Yeah.
wish that he shared why his hair is falling out. You know,
I
he talks
know.
about it with the producers where he's like, I'm embarrassed to say this, but I've started to take medication to support hair growth because I don't want to be bald, and I think maybe he's already experiencing some hair loss, so he's like, basically a lot of hair is falling out because of the the measures that I'm taking.
Yeah.
And I wish that he would tell her that so that she understood and could be maybe gentler with her delivery, which is
Yeah.
ultimately what he wants anyway. Like his big thing with Maury, in addition to her being really particular, is like he wants her to be mindful of how she says things to him, which I thought was kind of difficult because, of course, that's fair to be able to express and explore with a partner of like, is there room for you to be, um, to like manage how you express your concerns or your criticism so that I can hear it in a gentler way and I can feel less criticized, less judged? There's room for
Yeah.
that. And he's also sort of like asking her to be kind of a different person than she is. What's her name? Minami. Minami,
Minami.
like she shoots from the hip. It's sort of like thought hits frontal lobe, out goes
Then,
mouth.
yeah.
Yeah, it just like it all just comes right out, and she's very matter of fact, and she's pretty black and white, and it's kind of just who she is. And I think with a different kind of person that it's going to be valued. So I was feeling for her being in the experience of being told to be different and express different when really like this is who she is.
Yeah.
I don't want her to like misunderstand that these things are not valuable
Right.
features of her. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing that I kind of want to throw out about, and this is just like a lesson in love, a lesson
Yeah.
in love. I think asking your partner, and this is more than just picking up loose hair, it's like picking up socks, picking up boxers, picking up whatever, right? I think we can absolutely request our partner to do that if they don't already do it, and to be mindful of that in the sense that it's a team. But I also am like, Manami, you can pick up his hair too every once in a while when you see it. Because here's I was told this when I was like 20, and it stuck with me. And it was this woman who had been married for a while. At the time, if you are new to my story, I got married at the age of 20, so everyone was giving me relationship advice. This is the
Yeah.
only piece of advice I remember. But she was like, I used to get so mad at my husband for leaving his socks on the floor. And then one day
Mm-hmm.
I picked up socks and I had this revelation where it was like, if anything ever happened to my husband, I would miss having his socks on the floor
Hmm.
for something for me to pick up.
Yeah.
And I think we can meet each other in the middle there with that, where it's like, yes, I don't want to always be your fucking nanny and picking your shit up.
Mm,
That's very valid. And
yep.
I feel I have felt that way in relationships where it's like almost expected of me to clean up after you, not the vibe. Okay.
Not the
But
vibe.
if we meet in the middle and it's like, 50% of the time you're picking up maybe 60, maybe 70, you're picking up your stuff, and then I'm there to help, and vice versa. It's like seeing those hairs and being like, oh, my babe's hairs. Like, let me just get this out of the way real quick for that. You know what I mean? Instead of it being like, God, this dirty piece of, it's like,
Yeah.
how can we choose to perceive this in a different way instead of like us being so like resentful for it happening to begin
Yeah.
with?
And at the same time, I can see how that really like builds up.
Yeah.
However, I can see how that resentment builds up with a person who you've expressed time and time again, like, hey, I really
Oh
need
my
your
God.
help with this.
Yes. Yeah.
But with Maury, like I appreciated that in the conversations that they're having, he was like, you asked me to start being mindful of my hair, and I'm doing that. I think
Yeah.
it was hard to know exactly what he was asking for from her because he was just saying, I need you to change how you talk to me. But
Yeah.
I think what he was saying was like, I actually need to hear you give me praise when I do the thing that you were hell bent on me doing, that I made a change
Ooh.
for you. But
Very different
I'm
conversation.
different. I'm reading between the lines though, because until they got to the end conversation that we'll get to, I wasn't really like, I was kind of trying to deduce what he was asking of. Like, I appreciated that the two of them were
Yes.
sitting down and having chats, and that one
Yep.
person would be like, I'm going to say a thing. Are you
Yep.
listening? And the other person would start another conversation, say a thing. But I was like, what are we asking of each other here?
You and I are the fucking, I mean, we're not the same, but this is
We
my
got
exact
similar
note.
thought process.
Ready? My frustration with this couple is that I don't feel there is clarity on what needs to be adjusted for them to meet in the middle and fix it. I think they struggle to communicate.
Yeah.
So it's like there isn't clarity. It's not like I need you to do this moving forward because I
Yeah.
value this, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you know,
Yeah, no wonder
um
they feel like there's so much tension in their time spent together because they're having all of these serious conversations, and it's good. I'm glad that they are sitting down and doing the chats. But of course there's going to be tension if there's never any like effort to meet somewhere in it. What are we doing? What are
yeah.
you doing? What am I doing? Stuff
What
like
are
that.
we aiming for? Like what the
Yeah.
fuck are we aiming for? There's no direction on like where we're headed. So as episode 8 progresses, this is really sad. We see the producers, film crew, whoever, talking to Mori in their apartment where Minami literally locked herself in the room and is crying, and Mori's like, we can't do this today. Like, yo,
Mm,
like today's not a good day. Which is like, fuck, what conversation happened to lead to that? That
hmm.
sucks. And then I hear Minami say, she says, it feels like it's all my fault and like I deserve it, which had my heart ache for her because I'm like, babe, why? Like, what do you mean you deserve it? Like, you don't deserve to feel this way. You don't deserve to,
Yeah.
feel
It's not
unloved,
about
unchosen.
deserving. Yeah.
No. But I also want to understand why she feels like it's all her fault. Um, and so then they meet for dinner.
Yeah.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah. I appreciated how Minami like entered in this conversation. She really wanted to clarify why she wanted Mori to meet her friend. So what we hadn't mentioned is that like Minami was talking about inviting Mori to meet her friends, as we're seeing a lot of these other couples do. And Maury wasn't certain about it because I think he was trying to express, like, I don't really feel like we're in the place where it makes sense to meet your people,
Yeah.
which I understood. But I think she was like, wait a minute, I don't think you totally understood why I was even suggesting that in the first place. And so she clarified, she was like, when I asked you that, I want you to know it's not because I feel so much certainty. It's because I want you to get to know who I am when I spend time with my friends, because I feel most like myself. And I think that this is a little bit of a recovery effort on her end because he brought up to her in a previous conversation about how he finds her to be quite negative and very critical of
Yeah.
others, which was very surprising to me. We haven't
Same.
seen any of that.
No.
We haven't seen it, but just because we haven't seen it doesn't mean it's happening. But like, obviously it's true, because Minami was like, that's something that I've been trying to work on in myself. And also like,
Yeah.
I was attracted to you because you are such a good
You
person. And
don't.
I've really wanted
Right.
to work on this about myself through being your partner, which I have feelings about that. But
Same.
yeah. But so anyway, I think she was trying to be like, I want you to have an opportunity to see me in a space where I'm really safe and I'm really comfortable, the best version of me. And I want, like, maybe don't leave me before you get a chance to see that version. And he was like, yes,
Thanks,
but
but no thanks.
yeah. Oh.
So, Maury says it's best if they end their relationship. He says she brought the best out of him, which I feel was like lip service.
Yeah,
And he
agreed.
says he doesn't have any regrets, which I do believe is true. And she was really upset. And that is that.
Can I say something? And I know the answer is yes, because this is quite literally what we're here to do. Yeah. Yeah.
Give it to me.
I don't fault Maury for having the thought, feelings, reactions to any and all about this experience. Like I do think at the end of the day, they're probably not compatible.
Yeah.
However, from the start, Maury has been a very cautious individual throughout every step of this process. Even before he made a decision to propose to Minami, he was like uncertain at every turn. And it's possible that he really just didn't feel like he was finding his best match, but he needed to like move forward anyway. I don't know. But I have found him to be kind of nitpicky in a very careful and polite way. I found him to be nitpicky the entire time.
I think Mori is Karu in female form a little bit. It's like, right? I
Yeah.
feel like those two would be a better match because I think they're more traditional. I think it's more like I'm looking for a partner to fit my world in the way that I see my partner fitting in my
Yeah.
world instead of two humans coming together and developing their unique partnership, right?
Yeah.
And so I do feel that like what I'm picking up with Mori is very similar to what I'm picking up with Karu in the sense
Mhm.
that it's like the quirks of their partners are setting something off within themselves. And
Mhm.
because of that, they push the partner away instead of being curious around like, what is this bringing up within me? Is this
Mhm.
something I'm willing to navigate? And clearly they're not, right? Or at least
Yeah.
Mori's not. So yeah, that's what I'm feeling. And it's,
Yeah.
look, you guys, to each their own. I'm not saying it's a right or wrong thing. I do think that it's going to be a lot harder and relationships will have more tribulations when you are like ruling the relationship with an iron fist of like, this is how it needs to be for me, instead of being like, okay, this person is who they are and let's meet in the middle. Like,
Yeah.
that's my personal opinion. But yeah, it's like they very much have a hard and fast idea of like what they've envisioned for their marriage and partnership. And since their partners are not aligning with that through and through, they are pushing their partner away, not open to influence, and are essentially removing themselves. With
Yeah.
Mori, we see that. With Karu, we haven't
Yep.
seen it yet, but I feel like we will.
Oh, I second that. I think she's
Yeah.
on her way to removing herself.
Meanwhile, I want to end it on this cliffhanger. We see Wataru get his hair did. He says he's making preparations to propose to Midori in
Mhm.
RL, meaning face to face
Mhm.
instead of through a pod.
Yeah.
And he takes her to a nice restaurant and says, I had the chef pick out whatever the hell we're eating. I don't know. We're flying blind through this experience.
I love that.
Me fucking too. And like, yo,
Yeah.
I'm not even a fish person, and like watching them be served like what I was gonna say
Nigiri.
nigiri.
Yeah, nigiri.
Is that what it is?
Or as I don't know. I
I
know the
was like,
difference
isn't that the
between
snake from Harry Potter? Like
no,
that's where
no.
my mind went.
I don't know that
Oh my
I
God.
always get confused about nigiri and sashimi, and I'm certain anyone who's listening to this is probably like, you fucking idiot. But one of them is like
Sashimi is
raw,
just fish. Nigiri is
right?
rice
Nigis with rice.
Okay.
There you go. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm like, fuck yeah, I want it. Even though I'm like not
Yeah.
usually a fish eater, but like in that setting and that vibe, the way it was plated, gimme.
In Japan,
Yeah.
give me.
Done. I will eat fish in Japan. Done.
You better.
Anyway,
Bitch, you better.
we 100. Come on now. I'm here for the experience.
Mhm.
We see him get on a knee and pop the question, and the episode cuts.
And
So I am tripping because right before then, Midori is being so honest with him about like, yo, I don't know how I feel, and he didn't give any fucks. He's like, I'm still doing this the right way, and I was
dang.
low key impressed, but also there was like a part of me that's like, abort.
I know. Well, also like maybe just postpone. Have a
Right.
like engage in the
Postpone.
conversation.
Pause.
Pause. Engage in the conversation at least to start. But like I think that the film he was ready to propose. He got the haircut. Like he was
Yeah.
in the suit. He
And
was at the chef's table. Like it was time.
he looked good too. And
He
I
looked
will
good.
say this, like one thing that we have consistently seen with Wataru, and I actually really value this for the human that he is, like I love this about him, is that when he makes a decision, he fucking makes a decision. And I think that's sexy about a person. This wishy-washy weirdness that like we have choice paralysis because now we're on dating apps and have like a million people at our fingertips, and it's just like it's really fucking refreshing to have someone show up and be like, I like you, I committed to you, I'm seeing this through with you.
I'm choosing
it's
you.
like,
Yeah.
oh yes, like
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
What
Alice
are we
is
ditching?
gonna need some time to herself. We're ditching. I think generally we are ditching. Like if you have concerns within your relationship, you got to talk about it. Like
You're stealing my thing. 100.
I guess
that's exactly what I'm gonna say.
Right. Specifically, what I think that we should ditch is like stop asking roundabout questions to get information that could just be found by having an honest,
vulnerable,
put our defenses down, vulnerable conversation. Exactly.
Fuck yeah. And I want to piggyback off of this and say we need to ditch vague conversations around conflict and actually get to solutionable action steps. Solutionable is not a word. I made it up, I think. But you know
like
what I mean.
Keep it in the glossary.
Solutionable, actionable steps. Because a lot of what we're seeing in these, thank you for being a supporter, blind supporting.
I love it. I love it.
But what we're seeing and what I see so freaking much with even my own clients is like, you want a different outcome, right? But it's like, if we don't equip our partner with how to get to that outcome, we're never going to fucking get there, right? It's like when you give someone directions, it's like you're going to take a right and head north on this street, right? Because if you go left and head south, you're not going to get there, right? So it's like we need to give clear directions within our relationships on like, hey, when this happens, it makes me feel this way. Moving forward, instead of doing this, can we do this together in this way so that we can move forward and I can feel safe and you can feel safe and heard and all those things, and yay. But it needs to be clear, not just like, I didn't like that. That hurt my feelings. What am I like? Yes, I need to hear that. But then what would you prefer me to do if not that? You know?
Yep. Yeah. Engage.
Yeah.
Is that it?
The end.
The end.
The end.
That's
it.
the end. That's
We're
the end.
wrapping it up.
Okay. Thank you for being on this journey with us, on our Love is Blind Japan journey with us. Thank you for being on this COVID journey with me. If you would like to reach out to us via Instagram or TikTok. We're at Ditch the Script Pod on all platforms. You can also head to our website, www.ditchthis, 4 W's. Anyway, 3 W's dots.
COVID brain is really having you trip over the words
I
here,
just
and I'm
add
here for
1 million W's. I was like www dot.
DitchTheScriptPod.com, bitches.
Thank you. Reach out, leave us a question, apply for a mini session, whatever. Just fucking go to the website. God damn it. God damn it.
We love you.
Go to subscribe to our YouTube. Just like accept us for the hot messes that we are. Thank you, please.
Yeah. Spam us everywhere with your love.
Thank you.
And follows.
We appreciate it.
Okay. Bye.